She wants to be over that. Save your cup when you're done with Gina. She wants to family. I can't hear what you're saying. Save your cup for Gina when you're done with her.
Was there on you was like a household name back then.
Oh wow, I thought you're still alive. This is guys don't make it that long.
Isn't it amazing that people from 1984 can still be alive?
Fans, let's see it one more time. Taking the mound, Cy Young winner, Rick Supplin.
Chip?
Commercialized the roof leak.
Oh yeah. I look at so you people, yeah. So you watch the game from up there. cents will do it.
The time they said shipyard for CTA trains. Okay? This is an interesting experience.
So that's where the old Isabella station is.
Ah, cool.
Oh, yes, there's like the 70s.
This feels like real heavy on like a metro station and oh, cool. Cool. Oh, that's cool. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
I've got some all sorts of New York memories.
We don't need to put fireproof fire breaks in. Folks, it's a swamp. Don't you worry, Chicagoans. Swamps don't burn down. Your mayor and the business lobby were all set until it doesn't rain for 4 months. 4 months, no rain. Of course, the city's going to burn down. It was not going to hyperbolize. It was 99% wood. You want to see one of the last two alleys? Behind the Bishop's house at the southern end of Lincoln Park. You can even just Google in Wooden Alley, and it will pop up. It'll take you there. It's a 25-minute walk from the dock. So consider it.
Hey, Mom.
It's still there.
Can we go there?
One of them.
Where? To the wooden alleys.
Yeah, the wooden city with no rain.
The wooden alleys.
And the status quo of the city made sure that everybody heard, oh, it was Katie O'Leary and her cow. Did you see the paper? Yeah, that's what happened. Listen to your good mayor. If it wasn't Katie O'Leary, because there were no lanterns at the genesis of the fire, Michael Ahern, who said she was the fire starter, said he made it up. And it wasn't Katie O'Leary, and it wasn't Billy Joel who started the fire.
A little later. Yeah.
Ryan started the fire. No, folks, it wasn't the hot guy either. Hot guy Ryan. Now, folks, I already told you what started the fire. A city of 300,000 people exclusively made of wood, and it hadn't rained in 4 months, and every citizen of that city was cooking and heating with open flame.
And
What do you
smoking.
think started the Great Chicago Fire?
Sparks.
That's what happened to Greg.
Chimney sparks.
I think it was an ember from a chimney landed on Katie O'Leary's cow shed. Something as simple as that. I'd like to blame Peg Leg of the compulsive pipe smoker who didn't live next door, but his alibi's rock solid. He would ash wherever he wanted to as well. That's why I really wanted to blame him when I researched this. Can't blame Peg Leg, can't blame Katie O'Leary. It was a meteor, it was a wooden city with drought. Now, that's the logic-driven, data-centered answer to what caused the Great Chicago Fire. Is anyone interested in the Hollywood-driven answer? Because they're in their father-in-law's boat. It's the second time he's driven that boat. He doesn't know not to do that. He's feeling like a man for the first time in his life.
I took my passport, put it in the cassette tape, sealed it up, and said, you're in that night over there. It was as nice as pie for about 10 minutes. I was going, oh, it used to be a car. Blah, blah, blah.
You know what else is funny?
Yes. No, this is what.
The number of new boats in this waterway just exploded.
We might have.
I took all the vehicles, like, I'll take a new boat, I'll get you a new boat, I'll get you a new boat. Like, man, where is all? Oh.
That's why I don't even do straws. These would actually hold up for a while.
Man, once we get on that lake, it's going to be so easy breezy. Beautiful cover girl.
You do get here.
We should put a roof over the ship. We go like this, like
Last boat cruise, I think I did it on the beach.
still.
Now, folks, I mentioned the World's Fair of 1893. We hosted 2 World's Fairs. One was in 1933, and that was the Century of, the Century of Progress. What's so special about 1833 to 1933? I thought you'd never ask, okay? Some incredible discoveries and innovations. I'll name 3: electricity, refrigeration, penicillin. When you put these 3 things together, you have solved 81% of infection in humans. That's why there's 8 billion of us today. So the Century of Progress was celebrated right here in Chicago in 1933. It's the only World's Fair to turn a profit. And it was the only World's Fair to be held twice. President Herbert Hoover phoned up the mayor and said, hey, the nation is in such a great depression. Maybe you could keep your amusement rides and fun carnival going for a little longer. Give us something to do. So we held it for another 6 months. We were very, we were willing to do the president's favor, but we were pretty tired. We're pretty tired of partying. Now, folks, the Riverside gates are closing, and in about 30 seconds, the lakefront gates are going to crack. If you like the sound of hydraulic pumps, if you like the sound of, well, maybe not the sound of water, because this dude's kind of blowing that for us, but also just the look of white, clear water, that's going to be happening at the front of the boat. So, for those of you that are trying to capture some pretty cool things on the photograph, if you look around 1:30 of the boat, you'll see some maroon sails. What the objective here is you want to catch that schooner when it's by the lighthouse, and that way you've got a replica schooner from the 1890s, and then you've got an actual lighthouse from the 1890s. So that's kind of a cool photo to capture. It happens for me about 2 or 3 times a year. So that's the game we're going to play. There comes our beautiful water. Now, folks, you'll notice at the end of Navy Pier, that's called the Festival Ballroom. It's a great place to throw a festival or a ball. The kind of events you're going to see there are like political fundraisers and wedding receptions for senators' daughters. Yeah, so stuff that you and I will never be at. Sugar Ray was there last night? Excellent. Did you just want to fly? Yeah. Put your arms around me, baby. That's pretty cool, actually. The Festival Ballroom used to be the labor hall. That's where you go to get an assignment to a boat. It's original to 1916. Anybody ever been to Catalina Island?
No.
This always reminds me of the casino in Catalina. They're built the same decade, and both were built in a sphere of influence of the Wrigleys. I haven't proved that they're related. Maybe it was just the time, the era, the genre. But man, they're really similar looking. Yeah, that's how I kind of connected that. I was like, wait a second, that looks like the casino, and the casino looks like that. Wrigley's from Chicago. I wonder if these are related. And I haven't researched any further. But nonetheless, it's a fun coinky at minimum.
Yeah.
So you might notice keeping your arms and feet and hands and ears and mouth and tongue inside the boat that we are 3 feet higher than we were earlier. Everybody good on sunscreen?
Yeah.
Cool. because there's no smoking on the boat, so they wanted to jump off the boat and go smoke. They probably should have just smoked on the boat and gotten that ticket, because when you jump onto that property, it's the same violation as jumping a fence at an airport. Yeah, it's federal, it's prohibited federal property. It's the same thing. You're looking at $10,000, you're looking at jail time. And we don't even, whenever that happens, we don't do anything. But they'll call the police. Yeah. And then they'll mark the boat. And then they'll meet us back at the dock. And they're like, where's the guy at? And I'm like, it was him. That's happened twice since I've been at this company. They're not going to arrest you. They're going to, the feds are going to find you. They want to make sure that, what's that? They always do. Yes, of course. I brought it to share. Navy Pier was installed in 1916, and we had a really incredible name originally. The first name that we gave it was Municipal Pier Number 2. And then we wanted to honor World War I sailors and memorialize them. So then we changed the name in 1919 to Navy Pier. We like this name a lot better. Some of us might like coincidences. Get ready for this. The United States Navy commandeered Navy Pier in 1942. They didn't even have to change the name. It was already called Navy Pier. You know, in a way, the Wendella Company started at Navy Pier. Mr. Borgstrom, CEO and president and owner of Wendella, his great-grandfather worked at Navy Pier, and somebody brought in a boat with extension burn damage. He was a carpenter at Chris Craft. And the estimate they gave the owner, the estimate said, I don't even want the boat, I'll sell it to you for scrap. So Mr. Borgstrom bought the boat from him for scrap, restored it, and started a sightseeing operation on that boat. That boat's name was the Wendella. That's where it all started.
Oh. That's why it sounds like a boat name.
So for, I can't remember if it was 25 cents or 50 cents, but you got a 30-minute cruise of the shoreline.
Whoa.
That was the original Wendella tour.
Feeling that breeze now.
Yeah, you will once again.
Navy Pier is quite vibrant. It's had several iterations over the century. University of Illinois, Navy Training Center, pile of junk, and now it's an entertainment center since '96. It got a makeover in 2016.
I remember we were doing stuff with that. Oh man, this is where all the seagulls go off to. Oh. Yeah, like man, now I know where all the seagulls go off to when they're flying, huh? This is like the main hangouts. Yeah, I think this is a nesting area because like look how many there are. And it's essentially just a man-made island. Oh, that looks similar to the one we have in Waukegan, the lighthouse.
So we are in the Lake Michigan, and boy, does that feel easy, breezy, beautiful.
Yeah.
This is Dime Pier. It used to be necessary before the lock was installed, but now that the lock is there, you'll notice it does most of the work that Dime Pier used to do, which is protecting the boats on Navy Pier from Lake Michigan's wilds. Ahead of us is the lighthouse. It used to be located a mile north of us. That's where the harbor entry was until 1916 when we installed Navy Pier. We changed the harbor entry to right here, so we moved the lighthouse brick by brick in 1916 to its current location. sons-in-law to wreck their fathers-in-law both. See, about 2 on average get hung up a year. It's always on Sunday and Thursday, which is the fireworks. The fireworks displays are on Saturday and Wednesday night. So on Sunday and...
Well, that's an actual old school lighthouse. Holy hell.
The fireworks are at 9 o'clock on
Also, that's a
Wednesday and
cool
10 o'clock on Saturday.
Chinese boat.
One of the United States' largest rooftop lounges would be offshore. They don't tell you that it's only 3 stories on the roof, but nonetheless, it's a great spot if you want to be outdoors without being outdoors. And here's a much closer look at the old Labor Hall, which I mentioned today is the Festival Ballroom.
Kayak is out there.
Yeah, wedding receptions. Yeah, like, I want to say Mike Madigan's daughter had a wedding reception there. No, they'll do anything else. Those are just the kinds of political fundraisers, concerts. Yeah, they had a rock and roll show there last night. Whatever you use a fancy lakefront ballroom for. No, but you can rent anything. Sorry. A great man once said, money can't buy you happiness, but it sure can rent it. That's Weird Al. Now, folks, where are my Ohio people? Any Ohioans? Okay.
Wow, that's reaction.
The ahead of us on the left is it's Jardine Water Processing Plant. It's the 2nd largest freshwater plant in the world. So why does it look like Dayton Community College? Well, there's 6 stories of processing facility underneath the community college looking part. So that answers that. So folks, there's 6 levels of purification. Each level has 6 tanks. Each tank can hold more water than an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So there's 6 levels of 6 tanks. And that's where all the water processing is happening. And then up from the 36 chambers comes clean, purified water. Known. Protected. Jardine Water Processing Plant is surrounded by Milton Olive III Memorial Park. Milton Olive III was a young black man who was went off to Vietnam, and he enlisted too. He enlisted, and he jumped on a grenade for 4 other men. The other 4 men survived. 2 of them were horribly injured, but all 4 of those survivors state there's one reason that they're alive. That's because Milton Olive III jumped on the grenade. A real American hero. Just a real hero. Hats off to Milton Olive III. They'll never be forgotten. I will make sure of it.
Wow, that's
The Hancock?
gorgeous. Oh, the Hancock. I ate the sinister ones.
The first building taller than the Empire State Building, and New Yorkers did not like that. At the time, New Yorkers don't care at all anymore, but at the time it was kind of a bubble. Now, Mies van der Rohe founded modernism. Do y'all want to see his first examples of modernism? Like
What?
when you open a textbook and you flip to modernism, and it says these are the first examples of modernism. There's 2 black rectangles between myself and the Hancock. Those 2 black rectangles have white window shades. Those are the first buildings ever of modernism.
Wow.
860 and 880 DuSable Lakeshore Drives. You open an art history book, you open an architecture book. When you go to the chapter of modernism, it's going to talk about Niels van der Rohe designing and installing those buildings in 49 and 51. And
Oh, cool.
modernism became so prolific over the next 25 years. Do you know what we named the next style?
The
Modernism. So it all started right there, folks. The Hancock is by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, 1968, designed by Dr. F.R. Khan in the truss tube style. Dr. F.R. Khan immigrated from Bangladesh. We call it British India today. But there are 4 concepts for building vertically super tall. When you're a student today, an architecture student, and you go into vertical super talls, all 4 concepts that you learned were penned and conceptualized by Dr. F.R. Khan from British India. We are so grateful and so blessed that he decided to immigrate to the U.S. He had choices, and he chose us. So that's, I don't know, I wonder what nation would have led modernism without, not modernism, super tall vertical buildings. Like when you think of like, oh, the Sears Tower, the tallest building in the world for 25 years, was Dr. Khan. Hancock, Dr. Khan. Dr. F.R. Khan.
What?
Now, did I tell y'all about that Arkansas Razorbacks dad? No, that wasn't the story. This breakwater, I had a guy one time ask me during the questions portion, he said, hey, how'd y'all get it to float? And I laughed. He wasn't kidding. So I explained to him that if I magically snapped my fingers
from your dad?
and Lake Michigan was empty for 10 seconds, he would see a 25-foot reinforced concrete wall that's dropped in segments. And he goes, oh, that makes so much more sense. I can't believe I thought that was floating. Cement, there is a floating cement. There is a floating cement. But the steel and the reinforced concrete is not going to let it float. This breakwater, when this was a harbor, you'd have 300 boats going in and out of that tiny little river we were just in. How do you do that? By staging the boats here before they go in and going in and out, going out. So you didn't have 300 boats going in and out. You'd have a call time. They'd all come in here, keep in touch with the harbor master, etc., etc. It was organized chaos. So because of that organized chaos happening here, we needed to have a breakwater right there so we could still do some business, right? Now that we don't have an industrial center in Chicago, we moved it all to Calumet. We still maintain this for the plate pen. Take a look at those folks over there. They're using the breakwater right now. You know how hard it is to grill pots at 6-foot seas?
A lot.
Somebody's coming out here to have a brat grill, a brat ride. So you put the plate bin in, you put the breakwater in, now it's a little easier. In fact, I gotta tell you, y'all, we probably cut these tours, we probably wouldn't tour 2/3 of the time we tour if it wasn't for the breakwater. Because when it's gnarly out there, it's still very Pacific in here. Now,
Whoa.
yeah, that is a water crib. I want you to imagine the water crib as a Mario tunnel that's at lake level. So there's constantly water pouring into the Mario tunnel. It goes 60 feet down in elbows to Jardine Water Processing. Remember those 36 chambers?
36
Those are
chambers.
all receiving water from the Jardine Water, from the Dever Crib. And you need a Googleable thing, Dever Crib. That's what it's called. It's 2 of 14 cribs. 12 of the cribs don't work anymore. You can't even see half of them. But like, there's one on the horizon that way. That's a defunct water crib. There's one on the horizon at 11 o'clock of the Captain. That's defunct. So, you can see the blow through on Jeannie Gang's St. Regis Hotel and Towers. It's got daylight passing through it.
Ooh.
So folks, this is the part of the tour where I'm going to hop off the microphone for 5 to 10 minutes. I reckon with this group, about 1 in 14 have a great disdain for my presentation style. So I'm going to give them a break from me. But this is not a break for me. I am very much on duty, happy to answer questions. Happy to help you order your gin and tonic with lemon from Kimmy and Naomi. And I'm happy to take a photo of you and your family. So this is a break, but I am not on break. Thank you.
Wow.
Woo!
You love me. You really love me.
Yeah.
God bless all of you.
Oh man, it's gorgeous. Also, it's amazing how it's like this big. It's like a sea, inland sea. And you know, after seeing the Wheels Ocean in like California, we put perspective of how actually big this is.
It is.
Like sometimes I generally forget this is a Great Lake, and when I go to like regular lakes, I'm like, wait a minute, why is it so small? Why can't I see the other shoreline? Why can't I paddleboat to one shoreline to the next?
I actually love going out with some of the lake.
We got the one that's like, oh, I'll put this on my waist.
Yeah. That used to have a huge floating.
Really?
That arch part, yeah.
So this is the Chicago Harbor Lock. I like it too. This made my top 3 list when I came here in 2016 to visit. This was one of my 3 favorite things to do in this city. It was CGI destroyed. I mentioned the London House earlier. Beaux-Arts, 1923, Alfred Altschuler. Also, this is where this is Fort Dearborn, where it stood for nearly 30 years. And the Fort Dearborn massacre took place several miles south of here, folks. 25 soldiers coming to retrieve Chicago civilians to save them from 250 enemy combatants headed this way. Civilians are slow. Those 25 soldiers tried to get them to move as fast as they could, but it was no avail. Those 250 enemies of the United States, they caught up, and the Fort Dearborn massacre took place. So, hats off, out of respect for and gratitude for their great suffering and service. That was in 1814. You know, what I think about is those 25 soldiers knew that 250 were coming. They could have deserted their charge and made it home safe. And they didn't. I always remember that.
Oh, it's so cool going to these
Now,
questions.
folks, did y'all bring your architecture journals?
No.
Okay, who's got it? Oh, you didn't. Okay, that's cool. Go ahead and get your phone out at the App Store. One for a film with Steve McQueen, 1979. Another for an insurance commercial. Are you in good hands? It's valet parking 24 hours a day for 2 important reasons. A, you're not as good at driving as you think you are. And 2, there's no elevator for you to use once you've parked. It's a man lift, which requires a key that you and I don't have. Take a look at the Reed Murdoch Center. If you want a blast from the past, fire away. This is from 1914. It's the last industrial warehouse on the main stem, designed by George Nimitz. It was designed symmetrical, installed symmetrical. Is the building before you symmetric? LaSalle Street and its bridge had to be removed. I'm sorry, LaSalle Street and its bridge had to be expanded. So they removed the bay of windows on the west side and slammed the bookend, hoping you wouldn't notice it. But you did notice, because you have the best tour guide on the Chicago River wearing a Pillsbury Doughboy tie. It's a fact. How do you feel about reduce, reuse, recycle?
Woo!
I like that. This, 90% of its materials is recycled. Its green space roof is 85% plants. And it's heated and cooled with natural Chicago River water. That water is filtered and returned cleaner than it was. Picard? No. Yeah, Picard and Chilton, 2009. 300 North LaSalle is a platinum certified leader in energy and environmental design. Folks, it's a little more expensive to live low impact, but not as expensive as my monthly Botox. You throw in my recreational Ozempic,
I don't know what I mean.
afford to live no impact. Take a look at the merchandise mart. 4.2 million square feet. If you prefer common sense, that's 370,000 square meters.
Wow.
Designed by Graham Anderson, Probst & White in the industrial Art Deco style, financed by Marshall W. Fields, who consolidated 14 different warehouses into one strategic location. What's strategic about it, Tall Guy Scott? That's a really good question, but dude, it had railroads that ran underneath the building, and it had a ship dock right next to the building. So you can ship anything in the continental United States in 2 weeks or less.
Whoa.
Geographical oddity. 2 weeks from everywhere. Unfortunately, the Depression crippled Marshall W. Fields, who had to sell the building for half price, $13 million. Who has $13 million in 1940?
No one.
Joe Kennedy. Yeah, Joe Kennedy picks up the building for $13 million. His estate sells it for $625 million in 1996. What did we learn when the Kennedys bought that for $13 mil and sold it for $625 mil?
Buy
Two
low.
important things.
Buy low, sell high.
Marry a Kennedy no matter the risk. And two, it's not illegal if it's not a crime yet. Folks, where did Joe get all that money? Securities fraud and
mob.
insider trading was perfectly legal until 1932 and 1933. Bootlegging is a smokescreen for electability. Take a look at the Kennedys still holds on to this piece right here, which is brilliant. They sold the building, but they kept the land right here. Then they could put 3 long-term high-rise leases on it. Mo money, mo money, mo money. 150 North Riverside. It's to the right of the boat. It's got a martini glass foundation. They're using the world's strongest steel from Luxembourg to cantilever over the Riverwalk and to cantilever over the railroads. None of those can be obstructed. So that's a pretty incredible building. 2017. There is
Wow,
no other building
that
in the world
recent?
like that design. And there's a copycat, but there's no other original building like that. Taking a look at 333 West Wacker. This is from Con Pedersen and Fox. You've seen it in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Truman Show. The light green glass represents the main stem and its white clay base. The dark green glass represents the north branch and its muddy base. And the curvature of the glass represents the south branch bending into the main stem. The Chicago Riverwalk is a real gem. You can see the beginning or end right here is the lounging lawn, depending on where you started. It's a 20-minute breezy walk from one end to the other. Take a look at this access. Look, it's an easy peasy ramp for the knees. You know you only get one set of knees for free and they don't even last a lifetime? So listen up. Franklin Street access, easy on the knees. State Street access, easy on the knees. How are you going to remember that? Benjamin Franklin was the oldest statesman to sign the Constitution. You got your mnemonic device. You want to get down to the Riverwalk? I want you down to the Riverwalk. Take the State Street or the Franklin Street access. That's a great photo. Take a look at the $1.1 million digital media projector. It displays art on the Mart every night at 9 o'clock. That's 2 acres of art displayed every night at 9 o'clock. Check it out. For more details, Google Art on the Mart Chicago.
Oh, I seen that
This floating garden was not here in 2010. You know how many fish species we had? 9. We added the floating garden in 2010. 10 years later, in 2020, we did a survey. 73 native species of fish. Turns out they prefer roots instead of concrete. Yeah, earth-shattering revelation.
It also probably has more foods.
These are called eyelids, rather eyelashes, and they're to protect the pedestrians from whatever might fall from the roadway. I know, it's an interesting name, that's why I bring it up. I didn't put the name of that, the designer did. Question. Yes, the sculptures in front of Merchandise Mart, those are catalog retail and mail order retail barons, like Montgomery Ward, Sears, Roebuck, Marshall W. Fields, those guys. Good question. Not one of, no, but Joe Kennedy did commission that. The Kennedys did pay for it. So yeah. Love this river walk. Bring the kids and the dog for this splash pad. Hey, is anybody curious what Art Deco really is? All right, I'll move on.
All right. I know what Art Deco is.
Oh, you do want to know?
Yeah.
So there's 3 tenets of Art Deco. I'm going to give you examples of them. This is the LaSalle Wacker Building, 1929, by Oliver and Root. The first tenet is decorated base and caps. The base is decorated. The caps are decorated. Check. The second tenet, vertical lines of decorated windows, drawing your eyes to the top. And the third tenet, at least one recess on each. And he subscribed to more natural organic spaces like a hive, like a corn cob, like a stack of flowers. Each flower petal.
That's actually a nice little thing that they recognize us. And the river's clean enough where you can do it and not risk your health. Because, I mean, seriously, they're used to this part of this river that was dubbed the bubbly creek for a reason, because our slaughterhouses. You'll notice, right, the way they're built. Yeah, this is double decker. And you get the bigger boots so you have we used to do it all the time.
Really?
It was like when they this, like I guess it was a row house down there. It was you can see it everywhere.
So is it still like a market now?
It's more of a commercial, like grocery and touristy stuff. It's, yeah. But they used to have, this is like the meat and produce that comes through here, and there was a wholesale marketplace area.
Every day,
Sí, pero para la gente que viene.
I do love that movie. I know it's hot. It's that's why we kind of have this wall. It has been, anyway, but he had this whole plan for keeping the lakefront open to the public, so beaches, Ocean Park. It was a huge thing for him because he was like, you know, it's important.